no quit in any of them, Mike.
No, there isn't. Kim Coon saying that they're getting ready for pit stops. If you're in the outside line, good luck getting down because there's a wall of race cars on the inside. There's no possible way that anybody in the outside can get down there to go to pit road right now.
And Kim mentioned Team Penske trying to get organized. Austin Cindric's in the outside lane. Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney there in the bottom.
Well, I tell you what, guys, this is one of the most toughest decisions you got to make as a driver. How do I get to the bottom of this track? How do I get myself in a position to get down pit road?
Irony there, former Philly got in his way.
Three-run homer to break up a no-no.
Wasn't lost on him.
No,
so, we welcome you back inside. Albert Pujols, Jake Peavy, Harold Reynolds, Matt Vasgersian. You guys have had plenty of experience in games where no hitters were thrown. Albert, we were visiting about this earlier. I mean, for you, a ton of them. You were involved on one side of the scorecard or the other. On the occasion, one of your teammates threw one, and you were talking about Bud Smith in San Diego, and I think 01. What was the culture like? What was the dugout like? Did anybody talk to him? Was there all the superstition around a no-hitter that we hear about?
Well, we were both rookie, and he just got his stuff going. I mean, he wasn't a guy that wasn't overpowering hitter. He would just, fastball inside, fastball away. That's his best pitch right there, his changeup. And I'm telling you, it's a great feeling when you're in the good side because I've been on both sides.
And smooth survival skills.
Stop. Leaves of 3, leave them be. Cans of 6, take your pick. And head for the mountains of
AG1 gives you the daily nutrients that form the foundation for your health routine. It's made with the highest quality ingredients, put through the strictest quality testing standards, so everybody can own their health. Start your journey at drinkag1.com.
And the whole world is wondering, what's it going to take to stop this U.S. team?
Easy, lad. With Mark Alex. What about Rose?
Oh, bloody Rapino. We could get younger players.
They already did that.
We have veteran experience. Listen to what you're saying.
the defending champions.
What's it going to take to stop this U.S. team?
They're faster, slower. This precision with style.
Good luck with that.
That's why Roman offers Viagra and the generic option 100% online. Connect with the provider today to find out if treatment is right for you at ro.co/Roman.
They send some people in to pick up their radio gear, and on the way out the door, they film a little bit on their phone of how they're removing the gear and leaving. Then they do a social media post that they put up that says, "It's not us, it's you." Like letting the world know they had broken up with the radio station. Now ask yourself, would the New York Yankees ever do something like that? There's nothing more Bush League than the way the Oakland A's operate. And being here in Las Vegas, I don't want that franchise anywhere near.
The fact that one of the central pieces feels so much bitterness toward it is tragic to me. It makes me feel terribly sad for him.
Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. O'Reilly.
Stay cool this summer with AC Pro and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Right now, get a $15 O'Reilly Auto Parts gift card after rebate plus 2 times O Rewards points with the purchase of select AC Pro ready-to-use refrigerant products that include a hose and gauge. If your vehicle's AC is blowing hot air, beat the heat with AC Pro at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Hey, I'm Andy Cohen. You know me as a late night and Sirius XM talk radio host, but you might not know that I'm also a huge music fan. Andy Cohen's Kiki Lounge is where I handpick songs from artists I love.
Got a problem that I can't fix.
You better hear what he's got to say.
Plus nightly DJ sets and theme weekends. Andy Cohen's Kiki Lounge. Exclusively on Sirius XM, now on Channel 312 and the SXM app.
To hear Kiki Lounge, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or go to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
SiriusXM Video lets you watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artist you love. And Hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
So she got a SoFi personal loan.
That's me.
And had it do her breakups.
The first to go is your loser high-interest credit card. Next up, kitchen reno. What is this, load-bearing duct tape?
A SoFi personal loan can do all this and more. Let a SoFi personal loan do your breaking up. View your rate
without messing with your credit score
at SoFi.com/PL. That's SoFi.com/PL.
On Fantasy Sports Radio, Channel 87, and the SXM app. Free for most subscribers.
Get 2.9% APR for 36 months plus $1,500 purchase allowance on a 2023 XT5 and XT6 when you finance through Cadillac Financial.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici, let's get ready to rumble! Welcome to the show. My name is Charlie of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me and people who like the universe, and that would be you. I want to say what a beautiful June the 14th in 2023. What a beautiful day in Deer Hills, Northern California. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton of Big C Sports Center, as well as driving a fleet of Cadillac cars all over the universe. My goodness, can you believe the Oakland A's are joining the likes of the Baltimore Colts that left town in the middle of the night and they moved to Cleveland, became the Cleveland Browns again. And then the Colts resurfaced in Indianapolis. And then Baltimore had an expansion franchise called the Baltimore Ravens. So the Oakland A's, they want to move from the Bay Area, which is the top 4 media market in the United States, nearly 10 million people in the Bay Area. They want to move to Las Vegas, the number 40 media market. That doesn't make any sense. How many people are going to go to Las Vegas and watch 81 games every year of a team that does not pay their players? Doesn't make any sense. They're leaving the Bay Area to go to Las Vegas because of money. They can make more money in the Bay Area if they did right. The San Francisco Giants, they don't have to leave, but they spend money to put a winning product on the field. The A's had arguably the best franchise in Major League Baseball in the 70s, where they were winning World Series. Even in the late 80s and early 90s with the Bass Brothers, you know, you had the great Ricky Henderson, Catfish Hunter, Dave Henderson. They had Vita Blue, so many great players. And the Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire. But there was nothing like Ricky Henderson. Ricky would talk to himself. He said, he's gonna steal second. Ricky's gonna steal second. He takes off. Ricky steals second. He called his own games while he was still at second base. And now the Oakland A's are about to join the Golden State Warriors. Well, Golden State went back to San Francisco, where they came from before they went to Oakland. And prior to San Francisco, they were in Philadelphia. But they're still in the Bay Area. And then the San Francisco 49ers, they moved from they were at Hunters Point. Before Hunters Point, they were at Kezar Stadium near Golden Gate Park. And so now they moved down to Santa Clara. They're still a Bay Area team. There were cities in the Bay Area trying to get the A's, even downtown Oakland, where Jack London Square is located. They were even talking about going out to Fremont, and even some talks of them going up to Sacramento. But why are you leaving the number 4 media market in the country for the number 40th media market in the country? Because it's an illusion. People think that just because they're in Las Vegas, they're going to sell out every night. They're not. People do not go to Las Vegas to sit in a baseball arena, in a baseball stadium, 81 days a year. Football works in Las Vegas because in football, you only have to go 8 games. 8 home games, maybe 9 regular seasons. And then if you make the playoffs, the Raiders only made the playoffs twice in the last 20 years. So that's not as if you're going there for the playoffs. But they're leaving, and, it doesn't make any sense. It's almost like ego. I remember when Sacramento Kings, they were talking of them leaving town. The Mlb brothers had run out of money, and they had brewery money anyway in their family. And I guess the mother decided she wasn't going to give the kids more ATM money, and so they had to sell. Isn't that something? They ended up having to sell the team, and it was bought by Vivek Ranadive, who was able to keep the Kings in town. And now they have one of the best arenas in all of NBA basketball. And the fact that they're still here, give them some praise. Everybody has a thought on why a team should stay or why a team should go. But at one point in time, you got to make sure that you take care of your fan base. And the A's are not doing that. You can follow Big C Sports on 27 multiple podcast platforms from Google, Alexa, Spotify, Spreaker Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcasts, Castbox Podcasts, Deezer Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, GeoSavan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa. You can follow Big C Sports Podcast on Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Podyssey, Podcast Republic, and Good Pods Podcast. It's also, you can find us on allfeeds.ai and give the robots some praise. Robots are taking over our fair another war. But I don't understand really. I mean, it's money talks and BS walks. And people say, well, the attendance wasn't that great in Oakland. I did one of my first games at Candlestick Park for the San Francisco Giants, and I think they were playing the Philadelphia Phillies. And it was a midday game. They were only, at that time, down in Candlestick Park, there were only about 11,000 people announced. And so the Giants were talking about leaving too because Candlestick Park wasn't up to par for what they could have gotten in Major League Baseball. So some good old boys said they were going to move to Florida. But some local money got together, and they found a way to sell the team. And then they built beautiful, at that time, AT&T Ballpark. Now it's called Oracle Ballpark. It's also gone to the name of Pac Bell. But they built it, and they kept the team in town. Keeping the team in town some praise. For the Oakland A's, they're also, if they put the team up for sale, they would have multiple bidders to be in the number 4 media market in the United States, as opposed to going to the number 40 market in the United States in Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas is a mirage. People go there to spend some money, to gamble, maybe see some shows, and then they leave. They don't go there to see a baseball game. People say, well, it's worked for the Golden Knights. Congratulations to the Las Vegas Golden Knights winning a Lord Stanley's Cup. They've done that. But at the same time, it's new and they're winning. I'll talk about them a little bit later. But for the Oakland A's, they had 28,000 fans last night. And people just don't have a good feeling about what happened. They've been there 50 years. 50 years is a long time, but sometimes people say it's too long. And every now and then, you're in the same spot for 50 years. Maybe you want to change the scenery. I'm telling you, I don't like the way they left, but they're still in town. But who's going to go spend money when they told you they're leaving? If that makes sense to you. And they're going to go to Las Vegas? There's not more money in Las Vegas than there is in the Bay Area. Las Vegas is minimum wage money with tips. The Bay Area has higher salaries, more disposable income. But they've been exposed by the fact that they don't want to spend money on their roster in Oakland. And they could have stayed in Northern California, Jack London Square. If the Sacramento Kings in the number 20 media market in the United States can keep the Sacramento Kings, how can the Golden State Warriors stay in San Francisco? They got money. How can the San Francisco Giants stay in the Bay Area? They got money. But the Oakland A's are leaving. There's enough money in the Bay Area to build a stadium on Jack London Square and keep them. But those days are over now. They're going to go to Las Vegas, where it's 110 degrees in the summertime, so they need a dome on the stadium, as opposed to the Bay Area in the summertime. You might have a breezy higher 80s, lower 90 degrees, maybe even higher 70s. With the microclimates, it's a much better place to live than in the hot desert. But Vegas, it seems sexy. It's just like when you go into Vegas, whether you drive into Vegas or you fly into Vegas, it's sexy when you pull up. You see all the bright lights. It's a town or a city that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's nice and pretty at first until you get into those smoky casinos. When you get in those smoky casinos, after a while you say, man, my eyes are itching. I spent all my money, and now you got to hitchhike. You got to hitchhike back home. It's not as exciting when you got to hitchhike back home. I don't know that for a personal story, but I've heard some stories that people told me they flew into Vegas and they had to hitchhike back home. All fair and love and war. It's a shame that Major League Baseball is doing that to the Raiders. Or they did it to the Raiders. Now they're doing it to the Oakland A's in the Major League Baseball. My show is unlike any other show. I produce my show. I have no producer in my ear. It's fresh daily, like the fresh tacos I had last night. My goodness, they were good. I went and got 2 big tacos, and I said, man, those are so good. In fact, they were so good, I ended up eating them in the parking lot. I mean, I was sitting in the car. I wasn't in the parking lot. But after I ate them, I was getting ready to go home, and I said, I wonder what I'm going to have for dinner. So I went back inside, and I ordered 2 more tacos and some hot peppers. And my goodness, they were hot. But all's fair. It took faith. It took faith to get through it. I always produce the show. I always direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. And then the commercials are done. The stats provided, the storytelling, the play-by-play. The Las Vegas Golden Knights are the 2023 NHL champions. Give that some praise. The good old boys down in the desert won a championship, and now the Oakland A's, they come dragging into town, thinking they're going to sell out and win championships when they don't even spend money on their roster. I think it's a pretty sad day for the fans of the Bay Area, and specifically the East Bay, because people, it just doesn't make sense. You know, life is funny. But they decided they want to go, not even put the team up for sale to see if they get more bidders. That, to me, doesn't make any sense. It's almost like the owner's being vindictive, doesn't even want to sell for more money, or even see if you get more money. Isn't that what happens when you sell something? You put it up for the whole public to see, because you might make more money when multiple people bid. But this guy's taking the bidder out of Vegas, and they're just going. But just like people who move to Las Vegas, not all of them stay in Las Vegas. It's a transient city. People come in there and leave. It's a number 40 media market. There was a time when UNLV basketball was doing great. The great Jerry Darkanian and the Running Rebels, Stacey Ogman. They had a guy named Larry Johnson and Grandmama. They had some great players down there in the 80s with Jerry Tarkanian. The Running Rebels. But then things changed. They were hot and sexy at a time. Vegas basketball is not hot and sexy now. It comes and goes. They were at the Thomas and Mack Center. But people do what they got to do. I wish the A's the best, but I feel bad for the fans of the Bay Area because they've lost. The Oakland, the East Bay has lost the Golden State Warriors, even though you can take BART and get right across the bay and see them, or you can drive over the Bay Bridge. And they've lost the Raiders. The Raiders are a world brand. They will get fans everywhere you go. But the East Bay lost the Raiders. And now they're about to lose the Oakland A's. There's nobody else left for them to lose. They can't lose anybody else. There's no more pro teams. Not prominent pro teams. At the same time, my show's uploaded to 27 multiple podcast platforms out of New York City. And then 4 TV platforms. Number 10, I never missed a show since doing Big C Sports back in the day with the crew. And there's so much that I love about the programming with Big C Sports Podcast, but I don't like the fact that this team left and they have multiple world championships in Oakland, and they're going to take that to Las Vegas, where people go there to see They see plays, Cirque du Soleil. They want to go there and look at the MGM or T-Mobile Arena for MMA fighting or a hockey game, and they'll go to Allegiant Stadium to watch the Raiders play. But that's only 8 games a year, maybe 9 at the most, unless they have a playoff game. It's hard to fill 81 nights of Major League Baseball. It doesn't make sense, but they're doing it. I love paying homage to the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones. Can help you know anybody going through issues. Pick up the phone and call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give them some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. I know I do. What a great day in the neighborhood. What a great day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Well, that's what Las Vegas is saying to the Oakland A's, and I guess they say yes. All's fair in love and war. And at the appropriate time, 800 Gambler, if you're betting on teams, your teams don't always win. And if you lose your money, the bookies don't look for a way to pay you back. They're there to take. They come with substantial risk. If they put that disclaimer in their own advertising, I come with substantial risk. You got to be careful of people just coming with substantial risk. Be careful. You can't deal with everybody, if that makes sense to you. Coming with substantial risk. 800 Gambler, if you'd like to give your credit card to a stranger sitting on their toilet, pleading the fifth. Be careful. And now that the A's are going to go to Las Vegas, they're going to have more of their audience being fleeced. It's all fair and love and war. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then he said, let there be light. Some people didn't see that version in the Bible, but I saw it. All fair and level war. I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy. I think I also want to say thank you for Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. You can also see Big C Sports streaming OTT. One beautiful, intelligent black man. I need Tyler Perry's money, who's buying BET. Didn't I just say, I've been saying it for a long, long time, that Bob Johnson was my idea for a broadcast company based on Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Black Americans have a right to television, too. Oftentimes, people will turn you down for TV and radio and podcasts, but we have that right. But people have to do right, and oftentimes that hasn't happened. So Tyler Perry, if he is going to buy BET, I want to see what he does with it. Hopefully, he'll have just like network television, have news, have sports programming, and not just sitcoms, but things that are informational, like the great Walter Cronkite. Have a news channel where you talk about things that are important instead of saying, "Oh, they don't talk about us," or "They don't talk about things that are interesting to us." You can program your own stuff. I just hope it's not another sitcom channel where you have sitcoms and reruns 24 hours a day. Make it a real news channel to show the universe your talent. Have primetime news, have morning news, have your sitcoms in between, your game shows, your sporting shows. There's so much you can do with BET. You can even have Big C Sports programming on BET. Get that some praise. Get that some praise. I really do love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy. I have this new platform, but sometimes it has shenanigans. I'm trying to work out the new platform. So every now and then it may have a Latin track. It's all fair level. I pay homage to my beautiful family legacy on my beautiful mother's side. My great grandmother called her Mama, a beautiful, loving, kind woman. Always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly. Really do appreciate her. Then my great granddaddy called him Pop, former military man and former Negro League baseball player, known around his church buddies as making the best moonshine in the history of the universe. That good boy would also say, boys, get out of that barn now. He was also a Negro League baseball player. He always had the radio on, runners on first and third. The count for the pitch, curveball, swung on to Indy, right field, back to the wall, home run. He would say say hello to my little friends. He would also say that girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. What is it about the long ball that the girls love, and what is it about hitting deep that men love? Well, maybe Mother Nature has something to do with that. Really do appreciate that. Then my beautiful grandmother called her Medea, a beautiful, loving, kind woman, industrious, beautiful, talented. She was a seer. She could oftentimes look at a person, tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. Really do appreciate Medea. And then my beautiful grandfather, Hezekiah, another wonderful person. A seer could oftentimes look at a person, tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. And then I could always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coaching all boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe in an all-man's league. Come on, some praise. Come on, started a Head Start program, a food program, and then coaching all boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. And in fact, this is the best person I ever met in my life. In fact, at the church, everybody wanted Mrs. Curry's cooking. And at the restaurants, everybody wanted Mrs. Curry's cooking. And at home, everybody wanted Mama's cooking. She'd often say, son, how many plates have you had? I said, curry for 3. Oh, I had some big brothers. They used to eat a lot more than me, so I had to eat 3 to make sure I had enough, if that makes sense to him. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Best person I ever met in my life. On my father's side, my granddaddy called him Albert Curry. He was a pastor. He had 2 churches in Oakland, built the 3rd church in Central California with his own hands. He also owned 2 gas stations in Oakland, one on Bancroft, the other on Foothill. But what I'm most proud of, he owned 40 acres of land. Just like President Abraham Lincoln, that we should honor, America's best president, and Frederick Douglass, who was going to be the president of Freedmen's Bank. They were crafting the Emancipation Proclamation where every free black man was supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. And unfortunately, when President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson came along and he vetoed the bill. And he gave the land back to the insurrectionists. He gave the land back to the people who waged war against the Union, now called the United States. Had black men not fought in the Civil War, we would not be the United States of America. But they stole the land and gave it back to the people who lost the war. Who would trust the Ku Klux Klan to ferret out reparations? Well, that's what Andrew Johnson did, because he was a bigot. And the Ku Klux Klan loved him. But President Abraham Lincoln, people honor him, call it for President's Day, and we need to honor him by passing reparations and give that some praise. Don't go shucking and jiving. A lot of people are sitting on unclean hands with unclean bank accounts and unclean land because it was stolen. That's why reparations are due. Really do appreciate my grandfather, then my beautiful grandmother, Alberta Curry, working side by side with my great-granddaddy with the 2 churches in Oakland, built the 3rd church in Central California, and also working with the 2 gas stations in Oakland. I was 8 years old, walking through a hallway. It was 10 o'clock at night. I was trying to sneak too because I didn't want anyone to hear me. And she touched me on my forehead, and I said, what the world she doing touching my forehead? It's 10 o'clock. She normally goes to bed at 8:30. She said, young man, are you in a hurry? What are you looking for? Are you trying to get some more cookies? I said, cookies, baby crap. What I'm looking for, I'm trying to get my reparations. And some cookies would help too, because it's been a long time. But really do appreciate her, always encouraging me. And she would say, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. And now Big C Sports Podcast is on 27 applications. That's more than anyone, that's more than any podcaster in the universe. And then 4 TV platforms, streaming. I'm one beautiful, intelligent man. God has given me some favor, and now I'm asking for the $1 billion too. Give that some praise. $1 billion. What was that song? I want to be a billionaire, so freaking bad. And that's true. Give that some praise, God. It wouldn't be the first time. The billionaire owner of the Oakland A's, he's selling the franchise to some little boys in Las Vegas. What a world. Really appreciate my grandmother, then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that airplanes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night, always saying develop your mind to its highest extent. In fact, he's the first one to tell me about the SR-71, the Blackbird, can fly from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. in 1 hour and 8 minutes. We need those jet engines on 747 now. And those engines, as great as they were, they're sitting in museums. It takes almost 6 hours to fly from the East Coast to the West Coast. It did it in 1 hour and 8 minutes. Why not use that technology? Maybe it would take 2 hours with a heavier plane, but it's there. All fair and level war. Really do appreciate my dad. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And in fact, in the Air Force, my father's roommate was the late Al Freeman Jr., who played the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in one of my favorite movies, Malcolm X, that was written and produced by the great Spike Lee and acted by my favorite actor, the great Denzel Washington. And I love the part where Denzel was with Katharine Hepburn, and guess who's coming to dinner? And the family said, "Hey, what's your name, young man?" He said, "King Kong ain't got nothing on me." And he won an award for it. And some people swore it was they called me Mr. Tibbs. Some people thought it was the Sidney Poitier. It's all fair and level war. Really do appreciate my dad. And then my beautiful brother Todd. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then my beautiful brother Todd, with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Always saying go forward. A voracious leader. Always talking sports and politics. And one of our favorite movies outside of Malcolm X was Pulp Fiction. I love the part that Samuel L. Jackson, it was Vin Rames, John Travolta, and Bruce Willis, and there was a big fight scene coming up, and Vin Rames told Bruce Willis, he said, "Your butt goes down in the 5th round. See that flip?" So Bruce Willis said, "Okay, my butt goes down in the 5th round." And he told him what the Las Vegas Golden Knights told the Florida Panthers last night. He said, "You're going to feel a stinging sensation when your butt goes down in the 5th round." He said, "That's just pride flipping with you." And then Ben Rames said only what Ben Rames could say, like he's driving a big Escalade. He said, "Look, pride." He said, "Pride only hurts. It never helps." He says, "Hockey's filled with a lot of unrealistic motherfuckers who think their butt gets better with time like fine wine. In terms of vinegar, then it does. But it don't." He said, "Take this money, go down to the bank and get your reparations." I've always thought that was funny. Your butt goes down in the 5th round. Like they told Miami, your butt goes down in the 5th game. All fair and level war. Really do appreciate Todd. Love my brother Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. Intelligent, beautiful, erudite. I always pray Isaiah 54:17 that no weapon formed against her will prosper. In fact, Daisy, she scored 6 goals in a soccer game. It was like, "Daisy for the goal, the goal, 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 goal." And she's left-footed. The left-footed kicker, but she's right-footed, so ambidextrous. 6 goals in 1 game. She also helped me set up the very first interview for Big C Sports back at Salem Media, and it was the first time in the history of the United States of America that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live games on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before until 2 black men in the crew started doing our thing. Well, Daisy set up the interview, and she would also help set up when college coaches would come to the West Coast and do work with Big C Sports. Daisy, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want to be. Always trust God. Always, always give God praise. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, very smart, erudite. I love you, Malcolm. Isaiah 54:17. No weapon formed against you will prosper. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get the newspaper to look up stats and stories for players and teams for Big C Sports Podcast. And one day Malcolm said, "Dad, why don't you just Google it?" And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since, now on 27 podcast platforms and 4 TV platforms. And I really do appreciate the way that's going. And now one day Malcolm said, "Dad, do you want to see Big C Sports on TV?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "Pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up." And that's before it was even on the air. Now it's on 4 TV platforms streaming: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. He said it first. That's why I love giving it praise. Always pray Isaiah 54:17 that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Always do that. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, just like my great-granddaddy coming out of that barn with his church buddies always saying, you got to believe, saying, let's get ready to rumble. I love to say welcome to the show. FB nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts, no teleprompters. You know the story. Really do appreciate that. I love paying homage to the Associated Press. Jamie Harr wrote an article on Big C Sports Podcast and Reparations. It was on March 29th, 2023. And she also mentioned Kamala Harris, Vice President, President Joe Biden, California Governor Gavin Newsom, California Senator Stephen Bradford, and California Reparations Task Force Chair Camila Moore. All fair and loving word. Really do appreciate that. I love saying for every sports show with the Juneteenth celebration, National Black Wall Street Project, the Summit Awards and Barbecue, Saturday, June 17th, 2023, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Solutions Now. That's the subject of it, Solutions Now. And it's put on by the great Reverend Tony Pierce, President and CEO of the National Black Wall Street of the beautiful First AME Church, Los Angeles, California, 2270 South Harvard Boulevard, Los Angeles, California. And many people will learn more about what's going on with the Black Wall Street. And I've been asked to also co-MC the event. Really do appreciate that. I want to give Reverend Tony Pierce some praise because he also helped a family in Southern California get $20,400,000. And many people still don't know that it happened. And as he said, the check will not be televised. You better recognize not everybody will get it because some people are so busy watching sports, not paying attention. I want to say Google Survivors Today Act of 2017. The Justice for Uncompensated Survivors Today Act of 2017 is United States legislation that requires the State Department to report to Congress on steps that 47 countries in Europe have taken to compensate Holocaust survivors and their heirs for assets seized by Nazi Germany and post-war communist parties. And reparations are due next. We're going to honor President Abraham Lincoln. There's been reports from KTLA in Los Angeles that they're expecting Black Americans, Black Californians to receive up to $1.2 million in reparations payment, the task force says. Also, the United Nations Human Rights Chief calls for reparations for the United States to make amends for slavery, America's greatest sin. Honor President Abraham Lincoln by passing reparations and give it praise. Not just clapping, but praise. Really do appreciate that. So I want to touch base on a few things that happen in the world of sports. I know in Northern California, when you think about Major League Baseball and the Oakland A's deciding that they want to leave, it's a shame that they're going to do it, but they got offered some money, and they decided that money talks, but they could have put the team up for sale and had even more money come in, but they chose not to. They decided they're just going to go. They got approved by Las Vegas, which has a big homeless issue. They don't advertise that on TV because people go there with money. They lose the money. What do? And the A's are going to go there. And they're gonna do whatever they got to do to try to make success happen in the desert the way they happened in the Bay Area for 50 years. And it's Rob Manfred's fault because he made it easier for the Oakland A's to move. And that's a fact. When David Stern, the commissioner of the NBA, when the Sacramento Kings wanted to leave, Mayor Kevin Johnson, former NBA great, he flew and met with him and said, if we could come up with a deal, let the team stay. If we could find another owner, let the team stay. And he made it happen. I think David Stern could have done more to keep the Seattle Supersonics in Seattle. But they moved this to Oklahoma City by one vote because they were going to just improve the arena they had, I think Key Arena. But I remember David Stern worked with Kevin Johnson to keep the Kings in the number 20 media market. And Manfred will not work with the Oakland A's to keep them in the number 4 media market. So Major League Baseball relocations, it's a shame that they're doing it. I know Montreal, they left and went back to Washington, D.C. to become the Washington Nationals. But think about what the A's are doing is a shame. But Major League Baseball relocations of the 1950s and 60s brought several Major League Baseball franchises to the western and southern United States, expanding the league's geographical reach. This was in stark contrast to the early years of modern baseball when the American League placed teams in National League cities, Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, and St. Louis had 2 teams. New York City had 3. With no teams west of St. Louis or south of Washington, D.C., baseball effectively confined to the Northeast and Midwest. Now, the moves, through controversial in some circles, brought new prosperity of the game in baseball. As of 2022, Chicago remains as the only market with 2 pre-expansion era teams. The Chicago Cubs, take me out to the ball game, and the Chicago White Sox. And the White Sox have had several times come close to moving baseball's expansion. It mirrored westward movements of the United States population during a flourishing post-war economy that saw the arrival of the American jet, and also 1862 United States Homestead Act that gave over 276 million acres of land to white people and even white Europeans. They told black Americans, thanks for helping us win the Civil War, but we're not giving you nothing. Baseball's expansion, we see the benefit of it today. The economic push and the pull, it caused many teams to move. And the emergence of cities in the new frontier, it allowed baseball teams to pop up across the country. In the moves of the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants to California, now the LA Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants. In 1958, it opened the West Coast market of baseball. Since 1960, the National and American Leagues have added 14 teams. So everybody has their own thoughts about the Oakland A's going to Las Vegas. I mean, it's happened for so many other franchises and companies. Over the years, it became apparent that one team would be more than enough to be in a market. Didn't need to. In cities with multiple teams, owners would be competing and competing with each other for the fan base. The Giants and the A's, same kind of issues. The A's wanted to relocate to San Jose. The Giants owned that market, so they said no. And then they were going to go out to Fremont, and they didn't put the deal together. And now they're going to go to Las Vegas. There were people wanting them to go to Sacramento. And Sacramento is the number 20 market. Las Vegas is the number 40 market. Don't let the bright lights fool you. Las Vegas is having issues. They are. They don't have the state tax, but they do have issues. And then you think about baseball. Boston, think about it. The owners had a plan that was to have one team in each city so that owners would not fight against each other for customers. Boston would lose the Braves. You know, the Braves are now in Atlanta. Philadelphia would lose the A's to St. Louis. So it's not the first time the A's have moved. St. Louis would lose the Browns. And New York would lose the Giants and the Dodgers. Isn't that something? Philadelphia lost the A's. St. Louis lost the Browns. And think about even in the NFL. The Raiders started out in Oakland, moved to Los Angeles, back to Oakland, then to Las Vegas. The Chargers started out in Los Angeles, moved to San Diego, now back in Los Angeles. But the Rams originally came from St. Louis. Everybody has their own thoughts. I believe the Rams came from Ohio, beg your pardon. So in Boston, despite the Boston Braves have been established much longer in the city and arguably the oldest continuing professional sports franchise in North America, the Boston Red Sox were by far the more popular team at the time, and with the gate and the fans. In addition, the Red Sox were largely successful on the field except for the immediate years after selling Babe Ruth to the Yankees. And while the Braves were also ran and often in the second division of the National League, in stark contrast, the National League was able to hang on to St. Louis, where the St. Louis Cardinals were much more successful than the St. Louis Browns. And when you think about Philadelphia, where the American League Philadelphia Athletics were by far more popular in the city, led by longtime manager Connie Mack, and the Philadelphia Phillies were mostly losing during that period. However, it was the Phillies enjoying rare success in the 1950s at the hands of whiz kids, and the tables instantly turned on the A's. And now you have the A's in Oakland. So it's happened before. In New York City, the Yankees had long passed the New York Giants in popularity. though the Giants remained popular and the Brooklyn Dodgers were gaining popularity as well. This has happened before. And when you think about Chicago, but see the Cubs as roughly equal popularity to the White Sox, despite their constant losing and the curse of the Billy Goat allegedly preventing the Cubs from making the Fall Classic from 1945 to 2016. And this can be likely attributed to the effects of the Black Sox scandal of 1919 800 Gambler, if that makes sense to you. Apparently the White Sox, who on several occasions nearly moved out of the windy seating, not windy because of the wind, but windy because of his politics. Politics, the way Scarface was said. But the White Sox have not threatened or been considered a candidate for moving since the opening of the new Comiskey Park, now Guaranteed Rate Field in 1991, and with their 2005 World Series victory, and that cemented their future in Chicago. Remember the Montreal Expos, they started out in Washington, moved to Montreal, now they're back in Washington, known as the Washington Nationals. So these things have happened before. It's a shame when it happens, but change is inevitable. I've heard by an old preacher of mine, the only classroom that's never full is the room for improvement. Baseball can improve, but I thought Manfred did the A's wrong. He made it easier for them to get picked up out of Oakland and flown into Las Vegas. So you know he probably got a nice paper bag, if that makes sense to you. And if you don't think paper bags exist, paper bags can move mountains, if that makes sense to you. That's how they built Hoover Dam. They had enough paper bags, and now you have Hoover Dam, which is going to need more water coming out of that river to help feed the desert, if that makes sense to you. But give baseball and every other sport that says F you to the fans. They have the money. They have FU money, which means that fun is up. Fun is up. That's what I was told it was. But it's all fair and level war, and I give them what they got. They're going to get what they got. But it's a bad feeling. It's just a bad feeling. It doesn't make sense, but it's happened before. And speaking of things happening before, something has not happened before. In the NHL hockey universe, I want to say we have a new champion in town, and his name is the Las Vegas Golden Knights. And they beat up on the Florida Panthers in Game 5 to win his first Stanley Cup. And they said, what you got that cup? And he said, don't ask questions. What you got that cup? Don't ask questions. All fair in the world. I was at my real estate office today, meeting with a colleague, and some of the people were stumbling down. They were stumbling. They couldn't even talk. They're like, who are you? How can we help you? I said, down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Men are funny. Down goes Frazier. Down in front. Life is so funny. I told her about it. She laughed. But anyway, back to the game. Think about this. 6 seasons after the NHL debut, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, they're now Stanley Cup champions. Give them some praise. Stanley Cup champions. They beat the Florida Knights. They beat their butt. Beat them 9-3 in Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals to win hockey's ultimate prize in front of their home crowd, the Big C Cup. I call it the Big C Cup, not just Rose Dandy's Cup. Big C Cup after the Big C Sports, if that makes sense to you. Get out some praise. The Big C Cup. You know, all fair and level war, but Matthew Tkachuk, he did not play for the Panthers, came out with a strong push in the first period, but Las Vegas, they net Minder, Aiden Hill, he made some key stops that allowed his team to seize the momentum, and then Mark Stone scored a shorthanded goal with 11:52 into the game, and then defenseman Nick Hague doubled the lead a few minutes later, and the Golden Knights were off and running. You gotta just give them praise for coming to Las Vegas, and they won Lord Stanley's Cup. When we talk about baseball teams moving, a lot of the teams now in the NHL came out of Canada, and they ended up moving into the United States. But when you think about it, Stone had a hat trick to seal a Stanley Cup victory with 3 goals, and his hat trick was the first in his Stanley Cup final since Colorado Avalanche legend Petrie Forsberg He pulled it off in Game 2 of the 1996 Stanley Cup Final, which also was against the Panthers. So I want to just say congratulations to Las Vegas. The Golden Knights, they won the World Championship and Lord Stanley Cup for the good old boys down in Vegas. I want to talk about one more thing coming up. It's important to me, and everybody has their own thoughts about it. But I'm going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk more about Lord Stanley's Cup.
Boy, this marquee stuff. Every once in a while, staff aces and two bigger-than-life figures match up, and it doesn't meet your expectations. This one sure is.
All right, we're back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 27 podcast platforms all over the universe and 4 TV platforms. Really do appreciate that. I wanted to touch on, the Oakland A's, obviously going to be the Las Vegas A's, but Major League Baseball teams have moved before. And it's just part of business. People don't matter. The money matters. No matter how much the owners say we love our fans, they will move in a heartbeat if somebody gives them more money, it seems. Don't be surprised if the New York Yankees become the Las Vegas Yankees, if that makes sense to you. But what I love talking about is progress with the Juneteenth celebrations. The National Black Wall Street Project 2023 Summit and Awards Barbecue, give that some praise, is taking place on Saturday, June 17th. 2023, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Solutions now at the beautiful First AME Church in beautiful Los Angeles, California, 2270 South Harvard Boulevard, Los Angeles, California. And Big C Sports will be co-emceeing with the great Reverend, the inimitable Reverend Tony Pierce, President and CEO of the National Black Wall Street Project. Give that some praise. I said give it praise, 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 because we're looking for solutions now. And part of that solution, just as perfect timing, Tyler Perry reportedly makes history as the first Black American to acquire 2 major TV networks. Give that some praise. It's about progress in major development for the entertainment industry. It says Big C Sports has become Black-owned, but I was Black-owned when I was born, so I don't know how that makes sense, but give it praise anyway. Let me say BET has become Black-owned once again after 21 years, while VH1, for the first time now, also boasts a Black American owner. According to President Abraham Lincoln, he's supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. Give that some praise. But according to a longtime friend and TV personality, Rolanda Watts, Tyler Perry has cemented his place in history by acquiring the 2 major TV networks, making him the first Black American to do so. And the acquisition follows the news that Paramount Global has sought to sell a majority stake in BET. And I think it's going to be great. Earlier this year, the renowned actor, filmmaker, director, producer, and entrepreneur expressed optimism about purchasing BET, stating that his keen interest, if it were a possibility, that Perry, who had already enjoyed success in collaboration with BET, partnering with Tyler Perry Studios, a banner to create the popular streaming service BET, was no stranger to the network. He acknowledged that the unexpected nature of the acquisition, stating that I've been there for 4 years now, and a tremendous success is a possibility, and I'm very interested in taking as much of it as he can. And I love, and I want to give that some praise too. Instead of, I remember Tyler Perry I saw him on a program. It may have been the BET Awards. He talked about the absence of opportunities for Black men and women in Hollywood. Oftentimes you're an ancillary thought, unless you're very, very, very famous. And he said they had to think about boycotting the Oscars when Chris Rock said hashtag Oscars so white. Tyler Perry said something that I love. This is how Big C Sports got started. Instead of begging somebody who don't like you in the first place to have the crumbs off of their table, go make your own cake. And that's what he did. And now he's got a studio down in Atlanta that used to be used to be housed by Confederate soldiers. But he got his land back. But every Black American should get that land back also through the Emancipation Proclamation. But since its launch, the BET streaming service has experienced remarkable success, In 2021 alone, BET was responsible for half of the subscribers, nearly all revenue growth for the channel. I mean, the platform is what it is. I would love to see it compete with ABC News, CBS News, NBC News, and Fox News, where you have morning, evening, and daytime news programming, of course, with your sitcoms, have live sports shows, become like what ABC is, become what NBC is, CBS and Fox. Imagine this is the NFL on BET. Get that some praise. Imagine you're watching the NBA basketball on BET Network. Imagine that. NFL football on BET. NBA basketball on BET. You're watching NCAA basketball, March Madness on BET television. You're listening to Big C Sports on BET. I mean, you gotta say these things are so possible as opposed to saying, oh, they don't let us have nothing. Go make your own pie. He carved out a space to make his own pie. And his success as a Black American entrepreneur and his commitment to showcasing diverse stories and voices that have paved the way for increased opportunities and inclusivity in the media landscape. As a new owner of these influential networks, Tyler Perry is poised to leave an indelible mark on the future of Black-owned media and further amplifying the underrepresented narratives of a global scale, just like the Black Wall Street. There were always opportunities for Black Americans to succeed, but usually mobs of white Americans and some law enforcement allowed it to get burned down. It's important. I think about there's a gentleman by the name of Stacey Brown, is a senior writer for the Washington Informer and senior national correspondent for the Black Press of America, and has more than 25 years of journalism. And it's amazing when you think about the great things that people have done, Black Americans. Many times, many inventions were created by Black Americans, but not given the same type of publicity, if that makes sense to you. But 25 years of journalism experience authored two major biographies, including Blind Faith and The Miraculous Journey of Lula Hardaway, Stevie Wonder's mother. But look at what Tyler Perry can do. He has so much more opportunity than people begging somebody to affirm the action, because he's done it. He's done it. Put his money where his mouth is. And I'm proud of him for doing it. I don't know the man, but I know it's someone I would love to talk to him someday, because I too want to have $1 billion company. Get that some praise. Everybody talks about needing an opportunity, and that's all you need. It's just an opportunity. And opportunities are given, but you got to show up. You got to rise and shine for them. Just like BET, when Bob Johnson started it, he didn't have $15,000 to rub together. And he sold it for $3 billion. And now Tyler Perry owns it. Give that some praise. That's a quantum leap from $15,000 to buy something that is sold and for $3 billion, and now it's Black owned again. I don't know the financials of it, but it's not important to me because he owns it. And again, it's just my 2 cents. I would hope it could emulate ABC News, CBS News, NBC News, where you have news programming, morning, noon, and also evening, TV programs, live sports shows. It is there for the making, because oftentimes, I think it was UPN, United Paramount Network, they had a lot of opportunities for Black Americans, but that programming went away. They didn't own it, and it went away. But it launched a lot of great people to have success, but it was ephemeral success. It didn't last long because they didn't own it. And someone could also come and say, hey, get off my lawn. And that's what happened. But I want to wish Tyler Perry congratulations for buying BET. And it's amazing what you can do when you have his kind of money. But his kind of money came by being smart, by being erudite, by taking chances, but by also God opening up. Tyler Perry, I remember in a quote he had said, and again, nobody quotes you when you're not winning, but he had a quote and it said, all you need is one yes from God. One yes from God to let your dreams come true. Matthew 7:7. Ask ye shall be received, seek ye shall find, knock it shall become open to you. A lot of people pray, but they don't always get what they want. But prayer is part of everything too. Maybe not to the mainstream because they haven't had to as much. But for a lot of black men and women, I know people have felt obstacles. I felt them, but I also believe in overcoming them. That's why I'm not begging for somebody to give me anything. You know, my goal with Big C Sports is to broadcast, cover more NFL football. But I have my own platform. I can cover all 32 teams. I can cover all 30 NBA teams. I can cover over 160 college football teams, college basketball teams. I just want more money. I want $1 billion. It's $1 billion, but I have a platform. I've asked God for it, and God has let me have it. With my higher self, the pineal gland, I've heard growing up. Now here is another demonstration of this great principle that's difficult to explain, difficult to diagram, but nevertheless it is a principle that if you believe that the Lord offers you the kingdom, and you see the kingdom, but you feel you'd like to be in hell, then the rest is up to God. And that's why I give God praise. Praise just go up before blessings come down. My son said, Dad, do you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. That's before it was even on the air. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV and say, play Big C Sports. You will see your show come up. It wasn't even on the air at that time. It was just on broadcast. My son said that. Malcolm said that. And I'm doing the same thing for Big C Sports, covering more NFL football with my network. Give that some praise. To have $100 million in funding. And that's coming. It's already here. I give God praise. I just say God's word. Let God do what he did for Tyler Perry. There are times I prayed until I fell asleep 8 times a day. Like Ramadan says, pray 5 times a day. I was doing 8. And so many things are opening up. I want to also just say, for the National Black Wall Street Project 2023 Summit Awards and Barbecue, Saturday, June 17, 2023, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's about solutions now with the inimitable Reverend Tony Pierce, President and CEO of the National Black Wall Street, at the beautiful First AME Church, Los Angeles, California, 2270 South Harvard Boulevard, Los Angeles, California. And you want to give that some praise because Big C Sports will be co-emceeing with the inimitable Reverend Tony Pierce, who helped the black family in Southern California get $20,400,000. And nobody knows about it. As he says, the check will not be televised. Some people don't even believe in it. Remember, slavery was abolished in 1863. Some slaves didn't know they were even free till 1865 because they waited for someone to tell them instead of figuring it out for themselves. Instead of being involved, you got to either lead, follow, or get out of the way. I am tired of talking to people that say, oh, man, it's never going to happen. I say, what's never going to happen? They say reparations. And some of these are black people telling me this. I say, you know, they said the same thing, that slavery would never end. And slavery ended. Give not listening to ignorant people some praise. I'm not calling any specific person ignorant. I'm just saying people that don't get the information and they want to come out and say what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. I don't like talking to people like that. Sometimes you think you want to help somebody and they're trying to stay in the hole. Stay in the hole! What do they say in golf? Get in the hole! Some people like to golf already. Stay in the hole! Stay in the hole, stay in the hole. Sometimes staying in the hole is good. Sometimes staying in the hole is not good. Double entendre. It's all fair in love and war. Give double entendre some praise. And I love things about Big C Sports Podcast. And I really appreciate it. Talk about the Oakland A's moving to Vegas. I don't like that. That's not a good thing. Manfred let the whole Bay Area down. In fact, he let baseball down as a whole because he made it easier for them to leave without getting the deal done in Oakland. And that's a shame. But what do you do when good old boys want to get together and have unclean hands? You can't stop them from having unclean hands. The 123rd U.S. Open coming to beautiful Southern California, and that's going to start tomorrow on a beautiful Thursday in Los Angeles, and it's the 123rd U.S. Open in beautiful Los Angeles, California. So I'll talk more about that as I get into the U.S. Open tomorrow. And, you know, the LIV and the PGA, that's a story I want to cover more, and I'll get into that too, as players were getting more money with the LIV than they were getting with the PGA, and they were in court together, and now they're in love together. They're in love. They're making whatever they want to make, but they're in love now. They're planning the honeymoon. They went from fighting each other to falling in love, and now they're gonna have the honeymoon. Isn't that something? The PGA players, which is for historically the PGA has been anti-black. Yep, anti-black. They wouldn't let the original people of the planet join the PGA. And Lee Elder got invited in 1975. And the first black golfer joined the Masters, I think, and I want to say it became a member down in Augusta in 1990. I could be wrong about that. But now the PGA was saying that the LIV had human rights violations. They said, I'll not tolerate taking blood money. They said, me lightning strike. What did they say? Some good old boys said. They said, if you ever see me taking blood money from a country that has human rights violations, me lightning strike. Well, they're in bed together now. In fact, they're getting married. You know, you can meet somebody, you decide to go to bed with them. That's what grown folks do. And then you might decide to get married to that person. That's what grown folks do. You might decide not to get married to that person because you found something new, a warmer side to a warmer something. Something was warm. As long as you don't have to go see the doctor. Maybe that's why it was warm. But sometimes you lay down with people that you were criticizing, and both of you got to go to the doctor. And the LIV was being thrown under the bus for being anti-human rights violations. And now the same person complaining about the anti-human rights violations, I'll not tolerate taking blood money from somebody that had something to do with our buildings falling down. And now they're in bed together. Not only are they in bed together, they said they're going to get married. You better have a prenup. If you're the Saudi Arabian government and you're the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund, you better have a prenup. Because they already tried to sue. See, most people, when they get divorced, they sue each other through the courts because they're evil and they want to hurt each other. But some people, they sue you before you get married. The PGA was suing the LIV and the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund before they got in bed together. Now, who does that? Those white guys said, wait a minute. They said, wait a minute. They said, hey, sir, you know how much more money those human rights violators have than we do? How about we get in bed with them? Isn't that what some people say? They meet a rich person, don't know anything about them, and they say, I'm going to get some of that. And they end up getting in bed with them. You don't know where they've been. They might have been doing something that's illegal or unhealthy, but you get in bed with them because they look good, because they got a lot of money. You don't know, they could be having a fire going on inside of them. But all you see is the money and how good they look. So for all the people that want to chastise Colin Kaepernick, who took a knee in front of the entire universe, and many white brethren broadcasters, they said, I will not watch NFL football again. Here he is disrespecting the flag. He wasn't disrespecting the flag. He took a knee because of a Navy guy told him to be more respectful, take a knee. That's what he did. And all he was saying was to bring attention to police brutality. There's a book about it called The Color of Law. Colin Kaepernick's read it. Google it. Read it. He understood what the Kerner Commission opined. He didn't write the Kerner Commission, and all he was saying is, can we fix it? Colin Kaepernick knew that the Emancipation Proclamation was supposed to get every free black man, 40 acres and a mule after black Americans helped the Union win the Civil War. And when President Lincoln was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson, who was a bigot, he vetoed the bill. And he gave the land back to the insurrectionists, the racists, the Ku Klux Klan. Colin Kaepernick knew that. He knew about the 100 years of Jim Crow that affected protected black kids and black families and black men and women about the black codes and the pig laws and the redlining and the segregation. What did Governor Wallace say? He said, reparations now, reparations forever. Beg your pardon, that wasn't Governor Wallace, that was President Abraham Lincoln. But Colin Kaepernick also knew that Governor Wallace was saying, segregation now, segregation forever. And when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, he was trying to just bring attention to brutality that was happening to people of color, and the redlining, and the bank discrimination, the employee discrimination. You know, all the stuff that came about through Jim Crow laws. Even the dumbest person in the world can Google Jim Crow laws and what it meant. And many white broadcasters turned against him. Some prominent guys turned against Colin Kaepernick. I'll not tolerate someone taking a knee and turning his back on the American flag. Black Americans helped the Union win the Civil War against white Southern Confederates. Colin Kaepernick was standing for America, the land of the free, the home of the brave. And now you have these same white golfers, and many of them said they wouldn't even protest when black Americans cannot participate in golf because of discrimination. Many of the greatest white golfers, they would not even protest playing the game unless black golfers can play too. They wouldn't protest it. They went right along with it because they got the benefits of discrimination. They got the benefits of the Emancipation Proclamation, where their land was stolen and given to them. They got the benefits of the Homestead Act, where the United States government gave land, over 276 million acres of land, to white Americans. And even white Europeans. It told the people who helped them win the Civil War, no, you get nothing. Pull yourself up by your bootstrap. In fact, lift every voice and sing. So now I want to see what our white brethren would do on television in every sport when these white golfers, 99% of them, they are playing and taking money from the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund, called LIV. And nobody's going to protest them. And nobody's going to say, I'll not watch golf again. I'll not tolerate blood money. They won't say that. Why did they do it to Colin Kaepernick? I'm waiting for one media person, whether it's NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, or golfing itself, to criticize the white golfers that cross the picket line of the blood money. They won't do it. I'm waiting. Like I always say, you have people that will say they're anti-reparations, which means to repair. Well, they will take blood money. They will take the blood money from the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund. That people would call them betrayal for some of the golfers that cross the picket line or the blood line. They will take the blood money, but they won't stand up for reparations. That's why God let Big C Sports come and stand up for reparations for the universe. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, tell me if I'm wrong or right. Tell me if I'm wrong or right. They will cross the blood line for more money, or they criticize Colin Kaepernick. They'll say maybe 2 minutes about, well, you know, it's a tough situation, but we gotta get that money. You mark my words. Big C Sports speaks the truth. I'm waiting. All fair and level work. Well, as I always tell you, if you're gonna drink, don't drive. If you're gonna drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. You can get a cab. You can sleep it off. You can walk it off. You can call a friend. But don't drink and drive. The life you save may be your own. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Bourdini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. And he would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you've got to use, how can you lose? Ali would say, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat, because all these Big C burgers make me light on my feet. That's why I'm so like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. My beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that garbage on their own. And as I always tell you, on every Big C Sports Show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day. In the words of the great President Abraham Lincoln, reparations now, reparations forever. In the words of the great President Abraham Lincoln, reparations now, reparations forever. Which one of you among congressmen and presidents are with me to support President Abraham Lincoln? Reparations now, reparations forever. That's my word, I'm sticking with it. Have a super fantastic day.